Sat is very easy to see, not very hard. Similarly, Jagat is. The isness of the Jagat belongs to what? Sat, not Jagat. The very word Jagat means what? Jayate gacchati iti Jagat. Is born, is gone. Born is gone. Gone is born. Born, gone is. Is born, gone. Any which way you look at it. Born and gone. But still we say Jagat is. What kind of an isness is it? Borrowed isness. From where? Sat. Jagat is. Fresh, newly born Jagat is. Old Jagat is. Dying Jagat is. Pralaya is. Another cycle of Jagat is. Is never goes. This is very easy to understand. Then another Lakshana we saw of Brahman is what? Sat Jnanam Chit. This also is not very difficult to understand. We said all knowledge rests in a conscious being. A being without a head, a being without antahkarana. We said that because all knowledge to hold in a pea-sized head is not possible, not at all possible. All knowledge cannot have what? Upadhi. A limitless upadhi is Ishvara. We say upadhi just for the sake of saying that. Limitless upadhi, which is the receptacle, so to speak, repository, that's better, which is the repository of all knowledge. And that knowledge is non-separate from isness. This is also very easy to see. Sat and Chit, Satyam and Jnanam are intrinsically connected. So flower is, when I say, what is this flower? We saw we could not even understand what the flower was. Is this flower? No, it's petal. Is this flower? No, that is stem. Is what is inside that is flower? No, that is stamen. Then what is this flower? Put together to serve a kind of a function. That's what it is. All words and meanings put together. Put together means what? Here, would you like to have a go and put it together? I can remove all the petals and the stem and the stamen and give. What will we create? A mess. Okay. We will create a mess. Why? We don't have the know-how. We just don't have the know-how. And that know-how is jnanam. Anantam jnanam, anantam sat, resting in a conscious being. So when I say flower is, what am I saying? Flower knowledge is. The existence of the flower is non-separate from the knowledge that is flower. That's why every branch of knowledge you are connecting with Ishvara. Every scientist, whenever they do research, are praying actually. They are enjoying communion with Bhagavan. You can look at it, any body of knowledge takes you straight to Ishvara because you keep going to the source. You keep seeing the wonder of how something works. Take even the knowledge of the human anatomy, which is what is the subject matter for doctors and all its aberrations. From neurology to podiatry, from head to toe. It's a wonder. There is Ishvara in every organ. This is amazing. Why? Because there is knowledge. All knowledge. There is infallibility because it is expressed as this order. The anatomical order is there. It is expressed as infallible. Infallible order is there and therefore it can be studied. Therefore, you can say that when this happens, that means you have this particular disease. That means the person has this kind of a disease. If these things are seen, that means it is heading towards that. People will say, you have to, how do they know? You have to exercise for 150 minutes in 1 week. You have to have some cardio. How do they know that? Because they have done research. They have seen they have done research. Who is the subject matter of the research? Couch potato. Yes. Oh, there are potatoes on the couch? Yes, there are. Human size, life size potatoes. Couch potato means what? They never leave the sitting position. They don't leave the couch. Whole day they are sitting there. And then what happens? We know. The doctors know. If they don't exercise, if they don't take a walk, if they don't move the hands and legs, there are cardio complications. We know that. That's a law. That means it's an infallible presentation. So just amazing. The whole thing is like that. Whole thing is like that. The circulatory system comes under duress as one ages. Already we know this. And then with increasing weight, there are certain other complications. We know this. That's why every researcher, every scientist, any lover of any body of knowledge is actually in prayer because they are one with Ishvara when they look at the whole thing with wonder. There is always cause-effect connection. Therefore, to appreciate Ishvara as a receptacle of all knowledge is not at all difficult, very easy. And that the Chit, that Jnanam is, Sat alone is intrinsically connected to Sat, is also not difficult to appreciate. One more thing we should say when we discuss Satyam, Jnanam or Sat and Chit, that Chit is me is also not difficult to appreciate. Why? Because I am a self-evident person. Self-evident. I don't have to be made evident by any other Atma. I am myself self-evident. How do we know? Because when I ask the question, are you here? What do you say? Yes. Yes. Now it is a resounding yes. Imagine now what happened on the first day. Yeah. Everybody was wondering if it's a trick question. So, are you here? Yes. Yes, I am here. This is the only way to answer it. Because if you say, no, I'm not here, what are you really saying? Yes, I'm here. You're advertising your presence, and so therefore, this is to see that this Chit, this self-evident consciousness is what is the essential meaning of the word Chit, essential meaning of the word Jnanam. Is not very difficult to understand, can be appreciated. There is another aspect of it, which is slightly difficult to understand because Bhagavan is manifest as what? All knowledge. And what do I have? Difficulty remembering where I put the keys. That is what I have. Difficulty understanding if I have locked my room door or not. Small knowledge. But still, I can understand an upadhi less knowledge and an upadhi limited knowledge I can appreciate. That same awareness, which is manifest as all knowledge, is the same awareness which is because of that container. The limitations of the container is manifest as a chink of sunlight under the door. Yesterday we saw that example. A chink of sunlight under the door or a small little ray escaping the drapes. There are the drapes covered for meditation, and the sun says, I'm coming in too. I want to meditate too. And somehow he finds what? A little place between the covered drapes and comes in, busts in forcefully in the shape of that exact opening. That is exactly how we can appreciate Upadhi Vashat because of the Avacchinnatvam, the Parichinnatvam, the so-called limitations of the Upadhi, the the blossoming of this consciousness would not be the same as Ishvara, who is free of the limitations of Upadhi. That also can be understood. The rub is in the last one. What is the last one? Ananta or Ananda. Here is where one feels like sitting down and having a nice cry. Because that Ananda, I don't see myself as. Satchit I can appreciate. Ananda, neither Ananta nor Ananda, in fact, they are synonyms. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, what do we have? Satyam Jnanam Ananta. And what do we have elsewhere? Sat Chit Ananda. In fact, the Shruti, out of the kindness of her heart, has converted Ananta, about which we have no clue, to Ananda. Ananda, about which we have some clue. Little Ananda, Gulab Jamun Ananda, Samosa Ananda. And if you love Sanskrit, Samasa Ananda also. Chocolate cake Ananda, ice cream Ananda, going to restaurant Ananda, Swiggy Ananda, Piggy Ananda. All this we know. That's why it has been converted to make it relevant for us. Alone it has been converted. But the tendency is to want to pick up Ananda from Adhibhuta, from my surroundings, Adhibhautika Ananda, or pray for that Ananda to come. Oh Lord, let me have a happy day. And we wish each other also, have a nice day. What do you mean, have a nice day? The day doesn't know if it is nice or not. Day simply is. And what is the definition of the day? When the sun supposedly rises, as though rises, then what do I call it? Day. That's all. Day is inherently not nice or bad. It is simply is. I think camera went off again. It's okay. So, it simply is. Day simply is. Night simply is. Even if somebody doesn't wish you a good night, it's always good because it simply is. So, therefore, the Adhidaivika Ananda I pray for, I think it is centered on the Devas. Like I have to pray, oh, let my Papa go, let my Punya come over time, let me have a good day. Let me not have any obstacles. Means what? Good day really means let all my raga and dvesha be fulfilled. Think of what you're praying for. Think about it. Let all my ragas be fulfilled. Let all the things I don't want and all the people I do not like, let them not come in front of me. That is what I'm praying for. But we don't know the meaning of Adhyatmika Ananda, the Ananda centered on oneself, ever escapes the person. This is where the problem is in understanding Mahavakya. This is the Mahavakya. Satyam Jnanam Anantam is Mahavakya. That Jnanam is you. And you are equated to that which is the repository of Satchidananda. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. But Anantam I cannot understand. Anantam I do not know the meaning of. And that is why in the Yajnavalkya Maitreyi dialogue, which we are in the middle of seeing, Yajnavalkya makes it very, very clear that all these Adi Bhautika Ananda that one picks up in life, husband Ananda, wife Ananda, child Ananda, job Ananda, education Ananda. This is sounding like many, many sannyasis' names, but it is not. These are what? Qualities of the samsarinaha, of the samsaris. Job Ananda, education Ananda, chocolate cake Ananda, holiday Ananda. And then after holiday, after vacation, I'm already tired. Now I want a staycation. What is a staycation? Where you stay put. But you haven't told the neighbors you have come back from the vacation. And then you draw all the curtains. And then what? You creep around your own house like a thief. Yeah. And the neighbors are most concerned. Some light is going on at night. And so you forgot that you have given them a key to go and check. Because you're friends. So they come to check and they find you there. Staycation Ananda, vacation Ananda, this Ananda, that Ananda. Etasya eva anandasya. Yajnavalkya in another context, same Yajnavalkya tells King Janaka in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Sarvani Bhutani Matrameva Upajivanti. A very famous quote picked up by Adi Shankara in many places in the Bhashya. Etasya eva anandasya. What is the Ananda? The same Ananda which is without limits, which is my own nature, is what is experienced by all beings who are not exposed to Vedanta as what? Little crumbs of Ananda. Here is Ishvara inviting you to sit at the table and enjoy a wonderful meal. Ishvara is the host. And then what does one do? Sit underneath the table like a little puppy dog, waiting to drop a crumb. Small crumb, please drop, please. Little more, little more, little more, little more. This is how we deprive ourselves of Ananda. We deprive ourselves of the teaching also because we don't think this is possible. Therefore, in this portion of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, of the Yajnavalkya Maitreyi dialogue, he says a very famous quote again. What is that quote? Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Nava are putrasya kamaya putraha priyaha bhavanti. Atmanastu kamaya putraha priyaha bhavanti. So we started with wife and then husband. The husband does not love the wife for her sake. Why does he love the wife? For his own sake. His own sake means what? He sees some security. He sees some validation. He sees some companionship. He sees some coffee coming. Okay, this is the spouse. And even if you do it ulta, you turn it on the head, the spouse also is not interested in him for his sake, but for the sake of her own security, her own companionship. And this is illustrated again in the Bhajagovindam. The same spouse that was that was very attracted to the partner all of the life, tending and taking care of the partner very lovingly, then what happens? Suddenly, Lord Yama intervenes, partner, bye bye. And then what does she say? Get this thing out of here. She points to that same body, which was what? An object of love. An object of love, an object of security, a source of security, an object of desire is this body. And when the prana has left, what does she say? Get this thing out of here. Doesn't even refer to by the name. She or he will say, get this thing. This thing means what? Dead body. Out of here, out of my sight. Bharya bibhyati tasmin kaye. That same kaya, that same body which was the source of her strength, source of security, source of comfort, and so many things, source of companionship, source of love. Suddenly what happened in 1 minute? Why is there fear? There is fear because that Ananda is not connected to that body. What is it connected to? Oneself. Like this, Yajnavalkya teaches Maitreyi, going from husband, wife, children. Children, after that what? Neighborhood. Neighbors also. You love your friends. You love your neighbors. Mitram, neighbor. Suhrut, well-wisher. Community. And even those who are very altruistic and who like to protest all the time. Activists, they are called. And the activists also, they just do activism. Why? Not for the sake of the cause to which they are wedded. Why are they activists? For their own sake, so that they don't feel helpless in the face of whatever they see as social discrepancies, social, what is it called? Injustice. That's why they are activists. Because if you tell the activist, come here, sit down. I'll appoint somebody else to take care of that cause. No, how can I sit down? That means what? They're doing it not for the sake of the cause, for themselves. No, I'm not an activist. I'm a social worker. I'm trying to help people. What's wrong with that? You tell people they are being helped. You tell those people. Don't worry. I'll help them. You sit down. No. I want to do it. Why? Because otherwise I will feel helpless. So who is doing seva to whom? Samaj seva. Who is doing to whom? Huh? Even the person who says I'm helping the whole world is helping who? Herself, himself. This is something we have to see. And Yajnavalkya was astute enough to tell Maitreyi that, and it's a beautiful dialogue. Then after covering everything, whether you talk about environmentalism, whether you talk about any other cause, whether you talk about somebody who is a great scientist, a great researcher, a great scholar, everything is not for the sake of that thing, but for the sake of oneself. Then he sums it up. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Everything is lovable because the self is already lovable. I am the most lovable thing. Ananda, the dynamic form of Ananda, means love. This is what it is. Otherwise, people go away thinking all other religions preach love. Vedanta is the only one where there is no love mentioned. There is no love in Vedanta. Therefore, I will not have any love for Vedanta. It's because people haven't seen. Please go to the bookstore and see if they have this book, Discovering Love, written by Pujya Swamiji. Please read it. It's an amazing book. An amazing unfoldment of everything that we are speaking about in yesterday and today. Amazing book. This is what love is. Love is Ananda. Ananda is love is an expression of Ananda. This is what Yajnavalkya says. So when I love somebody, what is it that I'm loving? The truth of my own self, the self that is unfolded in the Upanishads. That is what it is. And so therefore, there is something to understand here. I have to be present. I have to be alert, because this is what is very difficult to understand. Because the love shines as belonging to the objects. But Bhartrihari has made our life very easy after discussing 19 defects of objects. So this has become now very easy. After enumerating and deciphering the 19 defects of all objects, now we see that the object in itself cannot be lovable. Why? Because of 19, and we can add many more limitations to it. Inherently limited. Limited, 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 limited. But the person who is seeking this treasure chest of Ananda, Ananta, limitlessness, because the Ananda, the love, cannot last just for 5 minutes. That is not the kind of love I want. What kind of love I want? Endless love. That is what you are. To understand this is where the difficulty is. So therefore, the withdrawal, at least cognitively, if not withdrawal, the suspension of trying to bank on external objects is an important way of going within, to at least to begin to understand this. Otherwise, it becomes very, very difficult. You cannot say, it is not possible to say little bit of samsara. Because there are some joys in samsara, it's not all nissara, and then little bit of moksha. Why can't I have everything? Little bit of samsara, little bit of moksha. Not possible. Moksha is all or nothing. And for that matter, samsara is also all or nothing. It's samsara, samsara all the way, or moksha, moksha all the way. You can't combine oil and water. Samsara, very oily, sticky. You can't combine it with moksha. So therefore, there needs to be a different way of looking at this equation. What is the Mahavakya here? Tat tvam asi. Tat jagat karanam brahma tvam asi. Saha ishvaraha tvam asi. Tvam asi we understand. Tvam asi means what? You are. Oh yes, I am. What? ... an idiot. ... unloved. ... alienated. ... always getting into trouble. ... You can keep on going. Tvam asi I understand very well. Aham asmi I understand very well. But I am this Jagat Karanam Brahma, that is not at all understood. Why? Because there is a block inside. That is what is the alienation. A child is born totally and completely helpless. We are talking of human baby. Giraffe baby can get up as soon as it's born. Elephant baby, after 2 minutes, it wriggles up and stands up and is able to walk with the herd for long distances. A newborn baby elephant. Only the human baby, good for nothing, is for a long time, just lies there. Same cry for hunger, same cry for nappy change, same cry if it has had too much milk and is having colic. Same cry. This is the human baby. totally helpless. Think about it. Cannot even turn over. And even after the child is born, in the states, they apply for a social security number, 10 digits, longer than the child also. Aadhaar card number. So, like this, the child is utterly and totally helpless. Doesn't know anything. Doesn't know Atma, Aham, Brahmasmi. Does the child know? Not at all. The child barely knows who is mother, who is father, who is caregiver. Doesn't know. Because this total helplessness is compensated by total trust. Complete trust. Mother picks it up, child goes. Stranger picks it up, the child will go to them also. A small infant, I'm saying. Not 9, 10 months old. By that time, some understanding is there. Small baby. Anybody picks it up, it will go to them. Totally and completely helpless. And the utter helplessness, the sheer helplessness, is compensated by complete trust. This is very important to understand. And what is this basis of this trust? Think about it. Has the child done research on the parents and found out how their parenting skills are? When it was in the womb, what kind of a mother she is going to be? Does it have an idea? No. Much less the father doesn't have an idea. And what is the basis of this trust? The basis of this trust is that there is no other option. The basis of the trust is thinking that mother is Ishvara, all-knowing. She must be all-knowing because even though sometimes she misses, most of the time she knows what I want. I'm connected to her. Father also is a incarnation of Ishvara for this helpless baby. That is the basis of trust. The basis of trust is what? Ishvara. The basis of trust is Ishvara directed towards Anishvara parents who are not Ishvara. Parents themselves, no matter how wonderful, everybody is human, everybody is fallible. But the child is seeking what? The infallible. Think of it. One is wired for moksha. That's why Pujya Swamiji always called it an uncultivated desire is moksha. Unlike cable TV, which is temporary moksha. Okay? Uncultivated desire. The utter helplessness of the child is what? Compensated by total trust in the universe. And when we say universe, it's a euphemism for Ishvara. Many people don't like to say Ishvara, they say universe. What are you going to do? I'll do as the universe guides me. That's all they will say. But universe is a synonym of Ishvara. Along with Maya Shakti, that's what it is. The trust is directed towards Ishvara in the hope that the caregiver, the primary caregiver, will not become a primary scaregiver. That's, we have a small difference. Trust is in Ishvara, but it doesn't know. There is a transference, an invisible transference. What is that? Mother is Ishvara. Father is Ishvara. Oh my God, they can talk. Oh, they can pick me up. And I was feeling like I was dying. And you know what this lady did? She put me on her chest and just went like this. And one burp came out and suddenly I felt I'm alive. I'm not dying anymore. Because the helpless child is programmed to survive. Every jiva is programmed to survive. Programmed to survive. This is something very beautiful. And for that survival, trust must be there. Trust in something must be there. No matter how fallible, the trust must be there. And that total trust is almost programmed. The child is, it's almost like Ishvara is calling the child to come to herself, himself. But the child doesn't know, ignorant of itself, ignorant of mother, father. Then as the child grows up, it learns a few things. This lady keeps disappearing. Where did she go? She says she'll be back, but I don't know where she's gone. And this man also, morning he's in a good mood. Shabash, he says, pats me on the back, gives me a hug. And in the evening he says, can't you see I'm working? Get lost. And in the child's mind, who are these people? Bhagavan, Ishvara. Ishvara is what? Infallible in the child's mind. So therefore, there is something wrong. What is wrong? I am the one that is wrong. This is the conclusion that the child comes to. I am wrong because they can't be wrong. Why? They are Ishvara. Ishvara can't be wrong. I have put my trust in them and they are much bigger than me. They can talk, they can walk, they can do all these things. They make decisions. They put food on the table. They put food in my mouth. So who is wrong? I must be unlovable. Do you see how that Anantya has become confined and constricted? And how that Ananta has now been internalized into finitude and fallibility. I must be wrong. I must be unlovable. Pujya Swamiji was very much against all these. What is they are called? Pre-KG. I told you what pre-KG is. Pre-KG is the place where you send the child before it weighs 1 kg. Okay, that is what pre-KG is. Pre-KG, all the KGs, lower KG, upper KG, all these things. Because even though the child pretends to be happy, it is not, because it feels it's being sent away. Pujya Swamiji started schools where mother, father, or grandmother could accompany the child. And the child would be learning something. In the next room, the mother or the father would be there. Suddenly, it would miss in its awareness the presence of the mother or any familiar caregiver. Mother, father, uncle, aunt, whoever that it was familiar with. All the child had to do was what? Go to the next room. Oh, studying Gita. Oh, it doesn't know all that. Studying something, mother is. Okay, father is right there, auntie is there, grandma is there. Sit in the lap for 2 minutes. And if the grandma tried to hug the child would wriggle away, go back and play with its friend. That's security. That is what the child needs in the first 4-5 years of its life. And then, because why is the first 4-5 years very important? Because it is the formation of another manifestation of the Ishvara called the unconscious mind. This is a very important component of Vedanta, which is talked about in the Upanishads, in the Mandukya Karika also. The unconscious is talked about. The unconscious has a name in Samskrita Shastra, Kashaya, not Kashaya. Kashaya means orange. Okay. Kashaya. Kashaya means like a sludgy thing that is not very delectable, that is not nice. In fact, the Ayurvedic doctor used to make a preparation. When children had fever, it was the most ugly thing, the most foul-smelling, ugly thing. And then the Vaidya, the doctor's assistant, would make these dosages made of paper. You have to cut the dosages and stick it on the back of this bottle. And the mother or the father would make sure you drank as much as the dosage was. And seeing that bottle, the child would go and hide under the bed. Okay. Immediately you see that and you say, I'll go to school. I'm not having fever anymore. I'll do anything you say, but except have this kashayam. No, I don't want this. Dragged out of bed. And then what? The child was asked to hold its nose because at least half the disgust would be gone if you don't smell the blessed thing. And then somehow you down it. So that kashaya is the same word for unconscious, which is equally repulsive in the mind of the adult. But that is the unconscious mind, which is the storehouse of all these feelings. I'm alienated, mother doesn't like me, father is inconsistent. Then that means what? I must be unlovable. I am an idiot. If only I was better. What can I do to get this validation from this person who is what? Hello? Ishvara. Don't say mother, father. Ishvara. Who is Ishvara? What can I do to get validation from this Ishvara, the local Ishvara, in the form of these caregivers? What is it that I'm doing wrong? I must be wrong. They are right, I must be wrong. This is the unconscious mind, which the grand guru of Adi Shankara says, Sakashayam Vijaniyat. Know the mind to be along with the unconscious. So the unconscious mind is what? Jiva Srishti or Ishvara Srishti? Jiva's creation or Ishvara's creation? Tell me. No, wrong. Ishvara's creation. Why? Because it's universal. When it is universal, it's not your own creation. It's Ishvara's creation. There is presence of Ishvara there. Because it is universal. Everyone and their brother, their sister, their mother, their father, their descendants, their predecessors, everybody had, has, will have unconscious mind. This is Ishvara Srishti. Very beautifully illustrated in the Puranas in the form of the churning of the ocean. That ocean is the unconscious mind. That is what it is. Churning of the ocean. We'll come to that, but before, finish this particular discussion. So this unconscious mind is formed and it is Ishvara's creation to protect the child from disappointment, which it does not have the emotional and the mental capacity to process. In fact, it is Mother Maya's greatest act of love, Avarana Shakti. This is Avarana. I don't know my own pain and sorrow. The child keeps smiling through it all. The child gets his degree. The child grows up into an adult. And then one has to process this unconscious. No other option is there. The unconscious has to be processed. No other option is there. Why? Because you're not a child anymore. But there seems to be a permanent child inside. Parma child. That one is carrying around. And you don't know when it will burst into tears. And unfortunately, it's using you as a host. Okay? It's using your body, your mind, your buddhi, your intellect as a host. So when it cries, who cries? The adult cries. Actually, it's the child that is crying. When the child gets angry and lashes out, who is lashing out? Huh? Adult is lashing out. You as the adult is lashing out, but actually it's a hurt, pained child that is there. You are lashing out. The child is calling the show, making you into a puppet, like that. It has you by the strings. Up, down. No, I don't want to go up. I'm an adult. No, you will say as I do. Up, down. It makes you do ta, thai, thak. Without even going one day to a Bharatnatyam class, you are dancing at its behest. This is why it has to be not neutralized, integrated into the adult. That is what this unconscious mind is also called what? Inner child, this truncated body of frozen needs that can never be fulfilled. Unfulfillable needs. I knew one person who was very fond of balloons. Age 62, okay? And fond of balloons. Then I asked him, why? How come you're so fond of balloons? Anybody wanted to get me balloons? At age 6, okay, yes. But at age 62, it's little intriguing. So I asked him, why you're so fond of balloons? Then he said, what to say? When I was 2, mother got me one nice balloon. We were walking. My 4-year-old brother, and myself when I was 2, and then mother got me a balloon. Mother got the brother also a balloon. Brother's balloon popped. And out of spite and jealousy, what did he do? Everybody knows. He too was a child. He said, why you should have balloon? And he didn't mean to prick it. He wanted it. Both of them tussled, and then a big pop was heard. And then what? He said as much. No matter how many people give me how many balloons for every birthday, I want that balloon. Which balloon? That was broken, popped by this stupid elder brother. This is what is called a frozen need. Like this, not one, but there'll be innumerable frozen needs. Innumerable frozen needs, wrong conclusions, notions that keep this Parma child a child. Always a child. And that child is possessing you. This is what is called possession. That child is using your body, your mind, your senses to get its needs met. What kind of needs? Unmeetable needs. Please understand, these needs cannot be met. How are you going to get that balloon? How are you going to get that doll? There's another person who said that she hated dolls. Why? Because the brother, she had a nice cloth doll which was coming a little frayed, and the brother twisted the head of this cloth doll and decapitated the doll in front of her. So therefore, these are all lasting vasanas, samskaras, and impressions from early childhood, misunderstood impressions or wrongly understood impressions, which all come down to what? I am lonely, I am not understood, nobody loves me. This is the percolated feelings connected to this unconscious mind. Unconscious mind is a gift from Ishvara, so that one grows up as an adult without being impeded by the unconscious mind. And when one has the wherewithal to deal with it, one must deal with it. One has to deal with it. There is no other way. Because if it is not dealt with, whole life one is what the Upanishads say, balaha. Nasamparayah pratibhati balam pramadyantam vittamohena moodham. Moodha, one is a permanent moodha. Moodha means what? Deluded. And thinking one is not enough, thinking one is not, one is wrong, one unleashes a whole set of what? Behaviors, notions, and conduct and pursuits which have nothing to do with the Atma, which are a tangent. That is why one chooses prayas and not Shreyas. Prayas means what? Pray for us. That's all. That's all you have to say. If you choose prayers, you have to ask everybody to pray for you. This is why one makes the wrong choice, because there is this feeling that I can fix this unconscious by feeding it. By feeding the unconscious, you cannot fix it. Why? Because it is mithya within mithya. It's not really there. Neither is this Jagat really there. That's where we are talking about. But what to talk if the Jagat itself is not really ultimately there? What to talk about mithya within mithya? But you didn't talk about mithya within mithya. You only talked about mithya. There is empirical mithya, that I see something which is not really there, like for example sunrise, etc., which everybody sees, which everybody knows it is not really there. And then there is a personalized, customized mithya, I see it, therefore it must be there. Whereas sunrise, sunset, it is there, so I see it. But what is mithya within mithya? I see it, therefore it is there. Just because you see it through the eyes of this hurt child doesn't mean it is there. And therefore, it is extremely important to process this unconscious by directing this inner child to Bhagavan, by directing yourself to Bhagavan. The child was already looking for Ishvara at age 0. And even at age 90, it's not too late to direct the pursuit, to understand that you are what? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Satchidananda. You are non-separate from Jagat Karanam Brahma. It is not too late. Antakalepi sthitva Brahma Nirvanam Richati, says the last verse of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And this is never too late. Why? Because that is where the flow is. We always know the expression. What is the expression? Go with the flow. This is the flow. Ishvara is the flow with which you have to go. And that Ishvara is not a guy in the sky. That Ishvara is non-separate from you. You have to know there is no other Ishvara. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi na idam yadidam upasate. That which you keep on the altar and then do Om Namaha, Om Namaha, Om Namaha, that is not what we are talking about here. We are transcending that name and that form because we are transcending this name and this form. The transcendence is total on both the sides. Ishvara is not a guy in the sky, but you cannot bypass this step and say, can I just go beyond Ishvara? Why? Because there is this inner child that reminds you of one's own Anishvaratvam day after day after day, and you cannot stand this inner child. How to process this and how to overcome this, how to find Ishvara and how to find the oneness, which talks about what? Tat Tvam Asi. We will see starting with the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om.